everyone. We are now most of the way through our unit on waves. And at this point, you know the things that you need to know in order to start working on designing and building and analyzing your musical instrument. So that's going to be our focus for today's class session, as well as we've got a couple more coming up that you'll really just be focusing in on this musical instrument. I just wanted to take a little bit of time to just sort of walk you through the expectations for the project, what it is you're going to be submitting, and how you're going to do that. And so the first thing is, normally I know that you complete projects in like documents, essentially, like Google Docs or Word or something like that. This time we're gonna do it in a slides presentation. So you're all gonna get a copy of this slides presentation, and you're gonna go in and edit it as your project submission. In part because it's different and shakes things up a little bit, and in part because I really want you to be able to insert videos of yourself playing your musical instrument, and that's a lot easier to do in slides than in Google Docs. So slides it is. Cool. So you'll get one of these. As a reminder, I shared a few classes ago, not sure exactly which class, but I did share with you previously this entry document for this project that gave you some information about how to determine the length of a musical instrument, how that's related to the frequency that it produces, the types of musical instruments, the frequencies associated with different notes, things like that. So that's linked back here for your reference. I highly recommend coming back to that as you are working on your instrument. Okay, so there's two major parts to your write-up, essentially, if you will. And the first part is just sharing your instrument and showing like what you made and what it does and all of that. So first, I want to see pretty pictures, two in particular, at least. You can share more if you would like, but I want at least two. I would like one close-up of your instrument so I can kind of like see how it was made and all the different pieces of it. And then I do also want a picture of you holding your instrument. And in that picture, I want to see your face and the instrument, both together. Take pride in your creation, like put it next to your face and smile because you have done something awesome. Okay, just so you know, in order to insert those pictures into the slide, you'll just go to the insert menu at the top, and then right at the top there you'll have you'll see image as one of the options, and you have a bunch of different choices for how you can insert that image. You can do it from Google Drive, you can upload from your computer or your device, have it access your camera, a bunch of different options for that, a lot of which are cell phone friendly. So you can kind of take your pick for how you want to do that. So I want to see those photos, and I would like to see a video of you playing a full, I know this is cut off because my face is here, sorry, a full 8-note scale on your instrument. Again, I recommend a C major scale, but if you would really like to do, you know, an A natural minor scale or whatever, that's fine. It's just got to have at least 8 notes, so no jazz scales, okay? In order to insert this video, you'll once again click the Insert menu in Google Slides, and then click Video. You have two options here. You can put your video on YouTube and upload it that way, or you can put your video on Google Drive and pull it up that way. I don't think you can pull it straight from your camera roll, although I've never really played with Google Slides on my phone all that much, so maybe you'll be able to figure it out. All right, once again, I gotta see your face in the video so I can see that it is you that is playing the instrument, and it should all be one single unedited cut, you know, because again, I want to see your full ability and your full creation here on this, okay? And then lastly, for this first section on the instrument, I just want a little bit more background on how you created that instrument. So what were the materials that you used? How did you put it together? And that's the basic idea. So you can write this up. You could record a video of you explaining how you did it, or if you want, it might be fun if you did like a time-lapse video of you building the instrument. That would be cute to include here too. So whichever of those options kind of sounds good to you, go with it. I just want a little bit more background information as to the history of your instrument's creation. All right, so that's the first section, is just kind of introducing me to your instrument and what it can do. The second section of your write-up is going to be analyzing your instrument and explaining how it was designed and what's going on to allow it to make beautiful music as it does. All right. So first thing is I want a little bit of information about the standing waves that are being produced in your instrument. So at this point, you know a little bit about standing waves and resonance, and the idea that the way that musical instruments work is that they have a particular natural frequency that gets amplified through this process of resonance, and that's why we're able to hear a particular note from your musical instrument. So in order to show me that you kind of know how those standing waves are working, basically what I'm looking for is this. I want a picture of your instrument inserted here. It could be the same one that you used previously, like that's completely fine. All right, so a picture of your instrument. And then the two most important locations on your instrument that I want you to focus in on are the two ends of that resonating chamber or the string pipe, bar, whatever it is, okay? And I want you to tell me for each of those ends, does the standing wave have a node or does the standing wave have an antinode? And then just a really brief explanation as to why it is that your instrument has a node or antinode at that point. So I've got a template here on the slide for you with some sort of example statements that you could say like, oh, this end has this because the bar is glued in place and so it can't vibrate. That's the kind of explanation that I'm looking for to explain how you know that it's a node or how you know that it's an antinode or what have you, right? And by the way, for this and any other slides where there are directions of use this space to da-da-da, feel free to delete that. Like, you don't need to include the directions. I guess you can leave them there if you really want to, but it'll be prettier if you get rid of them. Anyway, so that's what I'm looking for here is an explanation for each end of your instrument, node or antinode, and why. What's going on there to produce that? Okay, so that's sort of our picture of what's going on in terms of the sound waves inside of your instrument. And then you're going to need to do a little bit of computational mathematical analysis. So a few pieces of known information that you're going to want to fill in here. First of all, your type of instrument. So your instrument should be a string or an open pipe or a half-closed pipe, or percussion with one end free, or a percussion with both ends free, or maybe it's something totally different from one of those. Probably not, but maybe. I would like you to take a stance now that you've established where the nodes and or antinodes are, and tell me what type of instrument it is that you have birthed, okay? And then the speed of sound through the medium, you might know or you might not know. Okay, now if you have a pipe instrument that's full of air, I'm going to tell you right now the speed of sound through air at about room temperature is going to be 343 meters per second. So boom, you already know the speed of sound through your medium inside your musical instrument. If you have a string or percussion instrument, you might be able to just look up the speed of sound through the material that you used, and that might be nice and easy. But one thing that I do want to highlight for you is that if you have a string instrument in particular, the tension in your string changes the speed of sound moving through your string. So like if you take a rubber band and you stretch it really, really tight and pluck it, it's going to produce a different note than if you stretch it only a little bit and pluck it, even if both of those rubber bands are the same length. Okay, so it's not as simple as just looking up like, what is the speed of sound through rubber? If you have something that's stretchy, how much it's stretched is going to change the speed of sound through it. Okay, so that being said, if you are dealing with an instrument where either you can't look up the speed of sound through that material, or you're not sure what the speed of sound is through it because it's kind of stretchy or whatever, don't worry about that. Just in here for now, say to be determined or TBD, and then I'm going to show you how you're going to calculate that based on the other information that you have. Okay, and then for the scale being produced, you may want to refer back to the entry doc for a little bit of information about some of the different octave notations, the fact that you're probably going to go with a C major scale, etc. But yeah, we're just looking for something like C4 major or say A3 harmonic minor or whatever. Okay, cool. So then from there, you're going to go ahead and summarize the calculations that allowed you to design and construct your instrument. Now again, this could take two different forms depending on whether or not you know the speed of sound through your instrument. So if you do know the speed of sound through your instrument because either you've created a pipe instrument or you've created a string or percussion instrument where tension isn't a factor, you've been able to look up the speed of sound through that material. What you're going to do is you'll fill in the note for each part of the scale, so maybe like C4, D4, E4, etc. All right. The frequency associated with that note, which again is in that entry document that that's shared on the second slide of this presentation, and then the speed of sound through the medium in your musical instrument. Again, for a pipe instrument, that's going to be about 343 meters per second. For string or percussion, depends on what materials you're using, okay? Once you have that information, you should be able to calculate the wavelength for each of those different sound waves using your wave speed equation, and you should be able to calculate the length of your pipe or string or bar or whatever your instrument is using one of those instrument equations that's given in the entry document. Okay, so if you know the speed of sound through your instrument, you're going to fill out those first 3 columns, calculate the final 2 columns, right? Now, if you do not know the speed of sound through your material, what you're going to do instead is, instead of calculating the length of your instrument, you're going to tune it by ear, essentially, and then calculate what the speed of sound is going to be. So if you're not sure of what the speed of sound is, you're going to, again, fill in the note, C4, E4, whatever it is, the frequency of that note, and then as you're building, you're just going to kind of like keep playing with it. You'll change the length maybe of your string, you'll change the tension in it, and keep just sort of playing with it until it produces the note that you are looking for. Obviously, tuning is going to be really important if that's going to be you. I really recommend using a tuning app on your phone. There are tons of free options for iPhone and for Android, so I'm sure you can find something that will be free, most importantly, and effective, that will help you tune your instrument that way, okay? And so as you go through, once you've constructed your instrument, then you're doing this kind of in reverse order. Instead of calculating and then building, you're going to build and then calculate, all right? So then once you've gotten each of your notes tuned, you'll go ahead and measure the length of your string or bar or whatever it is that you are using, okay? And once you have that, once you know the length and the frequency, then from there you're going to be able to calculate what the wavelength is, again, using one of those equations from the entry document. And then once you know the wavelength, you can calculate the speed of sound using that wave speed equation. All right, so again, just to kind of walk you through that one more time, because I know this is a little bit tricky. If you already know the speed of sound through your musical instrument, you are going to do your calculations before you build your instrument by using the frequency and the speed of sound to find the wavelength and the length of each part of your instrument, okay? If you do not know the speed of sound through your musical instrument, you're not able to look it up, or there's too many variables changing. Instead, you're going to build your instrument first and then do the calculation. So you build your instrument, you tune it using a tuning app, and then you're able to gather information about the length of each string or bar or whatever it is that you're using, and then from there calculate the wavelength and the speed of sound. Okay. I hope that makes sense and that's all comprehensible for you. All right, so you're doing calculations for 8 different notes to make a full scale. I want to see samples for just one of those notes, okay? So choose one note from your 8 and walk me through the calculations of how you calculated wavelength and then either the length of your pipe, string, or bar or the speed of sound through that pipe, string, or bar as it's creating that sound wave. All right. And then lastly, I've included in here the rubrics. Now, I want you to look over them so that you can see what it is that I am looking for. However, you do not need to edit anything on here. Once you turn in your project, I will go in and edit these to calculate what your score is. Okay, so there are 2 different rubrics depending on what type of instrument you're creating. So if you're creating a pipe instrument where the speed of sound is absolutely known in your instrument, then you're going to go ahead and follow this rubric here, which basically I'm just looking for, did you build an instrument? Can it play a scale? Did you walk me through how you built it? Do you know what type of instrument it is? Do you understand how the standing waves are being produced? And did you correctly walk through those calculations to find the length of either each of the pipes or, each hole in the pipe? Okay. If you did a string or percussion instrument, it's going to be a similar rubric, with the one big difference being right at the end there, because your calculations are going to depend on whether or not you already know the speed of sound through your musical instrument. So really similar rubric overall, just kind of making that accommodation for what information you have available as you are building. Okay, so I think that is everything that I have for you right now. I fully anticipate a number of questions are going to be coming up, so I'm extra excited to see you during office hours. If you would like to touch base with me, but 1:30 to 2:30 on a weekday doesn't work for you because you have other commitments or you don't wake up that early or whatever, reach out to me, let me know. We can set up a separate time to Zoom or just email back and forth questions, whatever it might be. I apologize that we can't be doing this together in person because I would love to be able to walk through this step by step with you, but know that I am here for you and eager to help you however I can in this weird distance learning environment. Okay, I am so excited to see what you come up with. Know that I am here for you. Yeah, let's do this. Let's build some musical instruments. All right, cool. See ya.